Ryan, I would say, in my opinion, is plausibly the most guilty party of this entire thing.
Ryan Reynolds says Justin Baldoni can't sue him over hurt feelings.
Ryan Reynolds is dealing with a total breakdown upon cancellation of being accused of harassing Justin Baldoni, and to be honest, I didn't anticipate this.
Thesis is essentially that Ryan is actually such a good guy that he kind of had to be a bad guy.
Between legal actions and Wolverine and Deadpool's ironic jab, and some shady accusations, it's difficult not to. I'm curious if Ryan's witty humor has finally breached the boundary between Ryan Reynolds and there is a conflict between Justin Baldoni and believe it was written for a Hollywood film. Blockbuster, but it's not your typical. Celebrity feuds are turning into full-fledged conflicts of self-centeredness with Blake Lively Reynolds, wife in the midst of all, and if you believed that drama in Hollywood couldn't, seatbelt up, because this story is going to get messy. Contains enough story twists to compete with the game. The conclusion of Thrones.
Mr. Reynolds was a key player in the scheme, defaming Justin around Hollywood, strong-arming WME, their agency, into dropping Justin as a client and trying to destroy Justin's career however possible.
The Burn Book of Hollywood is back and more delicious than before. According to Justin Baldoni, too can countersuing Ryan by playing this game. Blake Lively and Reynolds with claims that they're trying to destroy his career, and by destroying, we're saying that he's guilty of everything from fat-shaming Lively to the point of complete. Reynolds, a sexual predator, is accused of even went one step further by showing off the influence of Hollywood to get Baldoni dropped by WME, his agency.
Yesterday, Ryan Reynolds filed a motion to dismiss. He wants to get out of Justin Baldoni's lawsuit in a filing that was riddled with character attacks and claims that he can't sue over hurt feelings.
But wait, it gets better. Reynolds' legal team hit back with the most savage defense that it's just their opinion. Apparently, in the court of law, free speech covers your right to express deep disdain for someone you genuinely believe is trash.
Basically, it's fine if I called him a predator if I believe it. It's fine. And the problem is, it's like, okay, so you're admitting then, essentially, that you have called him this.
But hold on, it gets. The legal team for Better Reynolds retaliated with the most vicious defense available. Merely their viewpoint, seemingly in the free speech in a court of law protects your right to show profound contempt for someone you really think is garbage.
What's going on here? What does he say? Why is he suing them?
Utilizing his former life as Reynolds Camp's justification is, how dare you bring a $400 million lawsuit against us when bragging is the foundation of your entire career about being a dirtbag who has changed?
However, his attorney Brian Friedman has given some quotes to the press, and they were pretty scathing. I mean, you gotta admit, the guy goes hard for his clients.
Of course, Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, came out swinging, accusing Reynolds of bullying and manipulation, lighting a metaphorical match and walking away like he's Deadpool in a slow-motion explosion scene.
Now here Friedman is quoted in TMZ. Let's look at what he said. Mr. Reynolds' exploitation of his enormous power in Hollywood continues, this time arrogantly asking to be dismissed from the case despite his publicly documented involvement, extending far beyond just being a supportive spouse.
A daring maneuver that weaponizes the redemption arc of Baldwin against him, and if pettiness had its own Oscar, by now, Reynolds would be honing his trophy.
But Brian Friedman says Reynolds trying to skate is laughable because his fingerprints have been all over the smear campaign against Justin and the Wayfarer team since day one.
Baldwin's, of course. Attorney Brian Friedman appeared, swinging a charge of bullying against Reynolds and deception, lighting a symbolic match and leaving as like he's a slow-motion explosion featuring Deadpool.
Scene. He adds, after lighting a match, Mr. Reynolds now seeks to run from the flames. It won't work.
Friedman asserts that Reynolds' fingerprints are throughout this alleged slander campaign, making him seem like a movie star mastermind tugging all the strings to ruin Baldwin's reputation, and as if weren't already chaotic, Baldoni now pursuing Leslie and the New York Times, Sloan, the lively publicist, and yes, Reynolds is pulling everyone into. At this stage, the mess is less of a court dispute and more akin to a full-on. The only thing lacking from the Hollywood war is, to break it, a dramatic Netflix series. Everything for us.
Friedman says Reynolds trying to skate is laughable because his fingerprints have been all over the smear campaign against Justin and the Wayfair team since day one.
Now, Friedman is painting a picture that is. It appears that Reynolds is sipping his own aviation gin, conspiring behind closed doors. Lair embellished with Marvel merchandise. Genuinely planning Baldwin's demise. The same individual that spends the most of his time making jokes on the internet and advertising his companies, he's reportedly now the antagonist in Baldwin's tale. It's so excessive to the point of seeming like satire. However, this is real and things are getting messier every minute.
I want men, first of all, I want men to stop asking the question, why do women stay?
Yeah.
I want men to take accountability. I want men to hold other men accountable.
Friedman made accusations without hesitation. Reynolds first starting the whole argument, burning and then escaping the area. Like an action hero from Hollywood fleeing according to him, Reynolds is a CGI explosion, avoiding responsibility at all costs, more concerned about keeping his appealing public image rather than dealing with the claimed injury brought about by Friedman. This goes beyond simply wounded sentiments but a comprehensive campaign to disparage Baldwin's standing one. Reynolds is currently attempting to minimize as harmless teasing.
As we reported, Ryan filed the dismissal docs Tuesday, calling Justin thin-skinned for complaining that so-called nice pool character from Deadpool and Wolverine was mocking him.
Reynolds is not facing Friedman's perspective. He's fueling the fire while acting as though the lawyer is above everything. Made it apparent that no quantity of ironic court documents or Marvel-level charm would undo the purported harm completed if Friedman has any input. Reynolds won't be getting away with this. Drama and tact. Let's discuss what's. Ryan is the first person at risk here. Reynolds, Snark's king, the one who used his razor-sharp wit to build an empire, and his Deadpool's careless attitude. Franchise is essentially a temple dedicated to his. I want that kind of irreverence.
And then they say, well, even doing that, he's just thin-skinned for complaining about it.
Afterward, Justin Baldoni is a man who calls himself a woke feminist, who has established a niche for himself, making movies with a socially intentional twist as though it concludes with us. These two papers couldn't be more. Several people making jokes about. The other, Chimchangas, is giving a TED Talk. Discussions about masculinity, but here we are, observing them compete against each other in one of Hollywood feuds that are the most strange in our duration.
No, it wasn't just the so-called. He confirms. They say they don't dispute that the character was based off of Justin Baldoni. It was essentially Justin Baldoni. And so Ryan Reynolds admits this.
How did we arrive here? Everything began when Reynolds made the decision to present a figure called Nyson. Wolverine and Deadpool are painfully blatant parody of Baldoni, followed by
Reynolds, who is married to Blake Lively, was accused in the lawsuit of mocking and bullying Baldoni by using the character of Nice Pool in Deadpool and Wolverine to satirize Baldoni's woke feminist image.
Reynolds' legal team now has but acknowledged that Baldoni motivated his niece. Palul, but Baldwin, their defense is simply too thin-skinned and sensitive. They are furious. Called it, which is equivalent to informing someone they're not strong enough to manage your. Reynolds' brilliant and audacious move.
All hell broke loose. She claims he sexual harassed her, and then by the time they premiered the movie, they weren't even speaking to each other. She made him stay in the basement, and Ryan Reynolds turned on him too. And then she claimed that he unleashed a bad PR campaign against her.
However, we must not deceive ourselves. When a genuine person is the object of your satire, the focus shifts from the art to, strikingly similar to bullying Reynolds of course completely rejects this idea. Since he is Deadpool, nothing is wrong. Boundaries in the sake of humor, correct?
She's brought the suit, and he's got to defend himself. And there's some very serious allegations being made against him and Wayfarer for harassment.
Afterward, there's the entire pleasant mess picture viewing one of the biggest films of the year and recognizing a character is obviously modeled after you. However, that's not flattering. Precisely how Baldoni fared when Reynolds made a parody of Nissul that made fun of his image as a woke feminist. This was more than a lighthearted jest. It was a intense roast with Baldwin's meticulous,
cultivated public image became a
joke that millions of others will view for. This seemed like more than just Baldoni comedy, it seemed to be a personal jab. Being a role model has been the foundation of his brand. Exemplar of contemporary manhood, and now he was being made fun of on a worldwide scale too. This wasn't satire, rather it was humiliation, so he responded with a lawsuit alleging Reynolds violated the boundary between comedy and harassment.
That it was Ryan who had called this shot, that it was very obvious now that we know his brand of narcissism. I feel like we all deserve like PhDs in psychology by the end of this.
Let's discuss Lively for a moment as Baldwin's and Reynolds' wives. Co-star, who is directly in the midst of. She's not holding back in this situation. The charges made against Baldwin aren't simply about improper conduct. They go deeper.
100% Ryan was the one who put this line in here. Not SNL, not Tina Fey, not Blake Lively, but Ryan.
She asserted that he planned a slander campaign against her by utilizing his publicists to disseminate unsavory rumors following. If the movie's release is accurate, it's a deliberate action that presents Baldoni in a very distinct light from the he attempts to project a progressive feminist image project, but the real deal is Reynolds. Support for Lively doesn't seem too selfless, certain that he is supporting his wife, as any spouse ought to, but in doing so, additionally, he's supporting his own argument. Two birds with one stone against Baldoni.
correct.
They are pulling quotations from a 2017 article as the opening to everything.
Currently, the public is free to choose sides, therefore let's. To be honest, choosing one is difficult. You have Reynolds the sardonic on your hand, anti-hero who has devoted their professional life to making fun of everyone and everything located on the. Another is Baldoni, the sincere, a feminist who is currently facing accusations of massively hypocritical behavior, followed by Lively is one person whose claims have introduced a completely new layer of complication to this rivalry, which is already messy.
So negative press swirled around her during this whole, like a month, right? Later, she would describe this as though it was the pile-on against Trump. Honestly, it's like most of us, especially in Republican politics or the news, this is called Tuesday for us.
However, Ryan is Reynolds' antagonist. Now, utilizing his position to intimidate another actor pretending to be humorous. Or is it Baldoni, who is concealed beneath a meticulously chosen image now revealed as the one who attacked?
Mr. Reynolds' exploitation of his enormous power in Hollywood continues. This time, arrogantly asking to be dismissed from the case despite his publicly documented involvement extending far beyond just being a supportive spouse.
Let's get started. The actual fireworks in this Hollywood drama when Blake Lively revealed charges against Justin Baldoni, such as a twist in the storyline in the third act of a thriller you believed this to be about. A superhero movie parody character. Rethink the shocking assertions made by Vibrant. Transformed this feud from a simmering dispute to a complete rolling boil, and the consequences have been just amazing.
Hollywood power couple Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds and actor and director Justin Baldoni. The plot of this lawsuit is actually more interesting, I believe, than the film that they made.
Thus, this is the T. Blake, the vibrant queen of sarcasm and glam herself. Alleged sexual harassment against Baldoni on. Yes, you heard correctly. The set of it ends with us. Correct, the same Baldoni who takes delight in being a feminist. Champion in Lively's opinion. Not only was the act inappropriate, but blatantly predatory, and if that wasn't sufficient to spread the rumor throughout Hollywood, she put the machine on overdrive and added another, claiming to have exploited his PR, Juicy Layer Baldwin group to destroy her reputation following that. That's correct, he didn't release the film. Simply harass her, he allegedly demonstrated her actual face in the world.
Ryan, I would say, in my opinion, is plausibly the most guilty party of this entire thing, okay? He has just been publicly humiliating Justin Baldoni.
Let's not act as though this didn't include a nuclear part of the current Reynolds versus conflict between Baldoni and his wife's name. Reynolds was pulled through the muck, but no longer merely defending his satire. He was on a war course, and who could be held accountable? Him if there was a claim of harassment, your spouse, and spreading a false accusation. Fight against them. You would be. Hone your verbal blades as well.
He has just been publicly humiliating Justin Baldoni as soon as he could, as many times as he could, and using as many A-list actors as he could.
But wait, Hollywood is a place where nothing is ever as straightforward as it appears. The timing of Lively's charges have sparked additional then some eyebrows, so why now? After Baldoni's case against. Is this a strategic move, Reynolds? Counterattack intended to compromise Baldwin's legitimacy? Or is it a situation of, at last, Lively decides she's had enough? There is murky water and everyone has. According to some of their theories, it's a classic. Some contend that the tit-for-tat case is a sincere complaints are finally being Ryan Light.
The reason why the character is successful, it's actually him. And what better way to become successful than really just playing yourself?
And then there's the character Nice Pool. It began this whole circus if the epitome of brutal humor is Deadpool. Nice Pool is his excessively sincere, brutally awakened younger sibling, and the caricature of Justin that isn't very subtle. The legal team for Baldwin Reynolds hasn't even, despite their best efforts to deny it, they have all but stated that Baldwin was a good inspiration, but their defense Baldwin is simply exaggerating. The term skinned outrage was used.
Telling me you creating this character in this Disney Marvel superhero movie where you mock him, threaten him, tease him, make fun of him, and then ultimately kill him?
This is the satire is meant to make people laugh. Yes, but when you're a Hollywood star, a famous person with a multi-million-dollar place to make fun of a fellow industry professional, does it continue to punch up, or is it just, simply said, cruel Reynolds may call the freedom of expression, but detractors are labeling it a platform that has been weaponized, and when your art targets, they are not incorrect. It's not only humor when someone is so straightforward, it's an assault.
It's just a joke. You don't get it? You're thin-skinned if you're upset about it. That is how insane this is.
Even more revealing is the words Reynolds Group used in their move to narrow out Baldwin's case. Skinned indignation that goes beyond a simple legal reasoning. It's an outright rejection of feelings of Baldwin, but isn't that the traditional defense of all bullies? Simply a joke, but it's amusing if you're not the one being made fun of in front of millions of individuals.
Are real, and they are serious. Mr. Reynolds can appear on as many sketch shows as he wants and feebly try to make light of his current situation, but we will not stop until he is held accountable for his actions.
And let's not overlook the dynamics of power at work here. Reynolds. Does Deadpool represent a cultural powerhouse? Despite his success, Baldoni doesn't use the same sort of power. Making fun of him in a popular movie feels less like lighthearted taunting and more akin to a heavyweight boxer attempting to strike a featherweight, but possibly the most. The irony of it all is that the conflict itself has only increased the attention. on both men's lawsuits, Baldwin's and, because of Lively's accusations, what might have been an unmemorable parody become a full-fledged dispute, and Reynolds, who enjoys stirring up controversy, appears to be delighted to play the antagonist in this story.
I felt like it was very aggressive, I agree, and I can't fault somebody for wanting to stick up for their partner, but there were parts of it as I was reading it, I couldn't help but feel like it was a bit petty.
Ryan Reynolds accomplished more than simply enter the courtroom with emotion. He carried a verbal flamethrower with them. Let's examine it in his attempt to deny Justin Baldwin's assertions. Reynolds brushed them off as nothing more than wounded sentiments, which isn't merely a mic drop with a legal argument. Side of the shade.
All hell broke loose. She claims he sexual harassed her, and then by the time they premiered the movie, they weren't even speaking to each other. She made him stay in the basement, and Ryan Reynolds turned on him too. And then she claimed that he unleashed a bad PR campaign against her.
The Reynolds team leaned heavily on. They campaigned for the defense of free speech, referring to someone as a predator or you understand how to make a humorous caricature of their whole character in a blockbuster movie is completely inside the limitations of the First Amendment, and although not that they denied that in poll was a remark to Baldoni, they dismissed it as innocent enjoyment, but that enjoyment has now risked losing his career and the actual. This is the battlefield. Forget the internet. Court of public proceedings. Opinion is where the decision truly lies. Matters, and to put it simply, it's not looking fantastic for Reynolds at the moment. Baldwin's fans have started pouring in defense, pointing the finger at Reynolds for his actions both within and outside of the screen. It appears that even Deadpool lacks sarcasm. His escape from all of this